Okay, thinking error 10, fragmentation. Okay. This is extreme change in the person's mental state that occur with short periods of time. Okay, so firstly, we come to rehab, we come to a place where we want to change our lives, and our primary focus is changing our lives. But then small little things would happen that would throw us off track, and we would lose our focus, and we would start thinking about things that is secondary important, and that secondary importance will overrule the primary important thing, which currently is changing our lives. Okay. So let's use an example of I'm sitting in my office busy counseling someone, and someone would knock on the door and quickly come in and tell me something. If that person tells me something, whatever I've been told might be very important or not that important. But the problem is not where I gauge that importance. It's where I need to first focus on the counseling that I'm busy with, and then give that attention. So a lot of times in our lives, we would, someone would knock on our doors, figuratively, and we would get distracted by something, and then we would give that something more intention or attention than the thing that we're currently busy with. Okay, so who of you can give me an example of fragmentation in their own lives? Anyone?
I'm terribly fragmented at the moment, and I've got to collect my thoughts, put them all together and focus, because I get confused all the time. So it's like a birds of worry and all sorts of things going around my head. Put them back in like a vortex back into my head.
Okay. Anyone else? Gaston?
I'll be given, like, say for example, throughout the day, 20 tasks to do, and I wouldn't be able to prioritize them in areas of importance, say like red, the most important, yellow, or medium, and then green for, that can be done at the end of the day. Not able to prioritize tasks of importance and focus on them separately. I will focus all my attention on a mundane task, and then get sided like a glacier by something I was supposed to be paying attention to in the first place.
Okay. Cool. So, in addiction, what normally happens is when we overwork, we overtired, we awake for a couple of days, you would find yourself doing something, and then 30 minutes later find yourself doing another thing which is completely off track with what you started. Like, let's say I would make myself some coffee, and I would spill some milk on the counter. Then I would get a cloth to clean the milk. I would clean the milk, I would see that the cloth is dirty. I would start washing the cloth. I would get an idea that now it's time to do laundry and washing. And then I would start separating the dirty laundry from the cleaner or the white laundry, and I would get to a point where now I'm in my room, packing out my cupboard, organizing my clothes and my winter stuff and those type of things, and then you would see like, okay, but you don't really need this, and now I'm going to a charity to donate my clothes, and you were actually just making coffee and cleaning up the milk you've spilled. But in our addiction, that is how we get fragmented, and we do things that we're not supposed to be doing, and at the end of the day, we haven't done what we were supposed to be doing. Okay, so there is a pattern of starting something, then changing his mind. He goes with whatever he's thinking about at the moment, forgetting anything that might contradict his current plan. Okay, so when we start something, then we would be busy downloading a video or working on a project or something that might be really important at that stage. And then you would get a phone call from someone else asking you another important question. But because that phone call is immediate, that thing becomes more important than the project that you're busy with now. And you put that project on pause because that project does not require an immediate result or an immediate answer. And then we get fragmented. When we are required to do something which needs to happen immediately. If you are working or you are busy with some paperwork and an assignment or something on the computer which is important, you need to do it. But then something happens that requires immediate attention, like it might start raining and you need to prevent the rain from overflowing in the room, and you get up, you get some towels and things like that. That is not more important than the assignment you're busy with, but that requires immediate attention. And if something requires immediate attention, we value it as very important. And we need to distinguish between what requires immediate attention and what is important. Okay, let's look at the spiritual issue, the spirit of disorder and double-minded spirit. If you can't decide on what you need to do at the beginning of the day, it's not really that important. So if I can't decide today I need to do this and I need to do this, then it's not that important. Then you not really have to do it. It's like a shopping list. If you write something on a shopping list, then it means you're in need of that specific item. You're going to the shops to get that item. But if you walk through the aisles and you think, okay, I need macaroni as well, I need mayonnaise, I need chocolates, and I need a 2-liter Coke, then it's not really something that you desperately need. If it would have been, it would have been on the list. So we go through our lives doing things that's not on our list. And we get busy doing the unimportant things. Okay, let's look at the emotional effect and the mindset. It's inconsistency and lack of persistence. If we jump around from one thing to another, if we start a project or we just start anything and we jump around and we start something else and we go do this and we go do this, then we're busy with a lot of things, but we're not finishing anything. We're not productively working on something that would actually take us half an hour. We take the whole day doing a lot of different things, and at the end of the day, a lot of things would be left incomplete. Okay, let's look at the corrective. Integrate thoughts, words, and actions. Okay, like planning. I love to speak and teach about planning because I think that is one of the most important things that lead to our downfall. It's because we lack planning. We lack to plan for what we need to do, because no one plans to relapse. No one plans to mess up their life. But we still do it. Okay. So if our planning is correct and in line with success, then our actions and our lifestyle would lead to success. Okay. Develop a perspective that will give continuity to life. Because if we start something, if we do things and it is productive, it is something that helps us to succeed tomorrow. If it's something that contributes to someone else, if it's to improve a system, then those type of things are against fragmentation. It prevents it. Okay. Sometimes we would boil a kettle in order to make coffee. Okay, this is a very good example. I would come here, I would boil the kettle to make coffee. Something else would happen. I might get a message on my phone, or anything would happen, and my attention would be somewhere else. And half an hour later, I would remember that you are busy making coffee actually. So now we gotta earn, and we don't need to wait for the kettle to boil. So that's improving on the fragmentation part, because you would get your cup ready, put in the coffee, get the boiling water, and there you would walk away. There would not be that 5 minutes where something would distract you and you would forget about the coffee that you're making. Okay. Learn to weigh out conflict instead of dismissing facts. So, when we involved in conversations and things like that, and someone speaks to you, bringing up a subject that you know would cause conflict and should rather be avoid speaking about now, then do it. But don't ignore the facts and the importance of what they're actually saying or what they're bringing up with you. Okay, so stop and check out current plans against guiding principles before acting. Okay, so we should not go against a principle or against something that's already working or already implemented. If you go against that specific thing, then it means you're creating a backlog for yourself. You're creating a situation where you now need to redesign the wheel, and all of those things which might be in that situation a good idea would lead to a waste of time.
Yes.
And in addiction, we get a lot of good ideas, especially at night or in the morning. Or you would get an idea so early in the morning that I need to go to the shops and get this and do all these type of things. But at 9 o'clock, when the shops open, that idea is long gone. Okay. Okay. God is the finisher. He began creation one day and finished it in 6. Christ is the finisher. When he hung on the cross, he said, "It is finished." Okay, so who believes that God is confused? Okay, no one, because God is not confused. And this is a very good, nice thing to say, especially here. So, if God is not confused, why would he send you to a 6-month program and tell you to go after 3? Then he would rather send you to a 3-month program and let you finish it there. So a lot of times we come here and we realize that I've been placed here by God God wants me to work on my life and work out my troubles and my hurts and my hang-ups and habits. And this is where I need to focus on my life. And then we're all motivated and we want to change our lives and we want to work on our issues. And then things get challenging or a bit difficult. Something would happen. You might not receive phone calls, or someone's not able to come and visit, or your loved one might leave you in this situation or process. And then you would get demotivated, and suddenly what you believed from the bottom of your heart was God's plan now changed. God won't say something and then change what He's saying. So either one of two things: you would have a misbelief of what God has said the first time, or your attitude regarding the situation is lying to you now about what God is saying. So commitment is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you had set it in has left you. So I promised myself that I would do something or work hard. And then when I'm tired, it doesn't mean that I should not work hard anymore. It means that I should work hard even though I'm tired. Okay.
What did you say? God made what in one day and finished in 6? Okay.
He began creation
Or began creation.
one day and finished it in 6. Okay, let's go to 2 Timothy 4 verse 7. Okay. I've fought the good fight. I've finished the race. I've kept my faith. So, Paul is speaking here, and he doesn't say, I gave up halfway. I got irritated, I lost concentration, and I stopped to do what I was doing. He said, I've fought the good fight. I've finished the race and I've kept my faith. He persevered, he pushed through, he kept his mind on what his focus was set initially. Okay, so we need to control where we direct our attention to. We can pay attention to anything. We can pay attention to mundane things that's not really important, or we can focus on the bigger picture, on the restoration that's taking place, on our family relationships, on where we want to be in 2 or 3 or 4 years from now. We can focus on those things, and we can choose to persevere and push through and remain consistent, or we can focus on the fact that I'm not having a good day today. People are upsetting me. It's raining. I'm feeling sick. I don't want to be here. And then we can just give up. But if we give up now, we would not receive the greater reward. And it's much more important to receive that great reward. Another thing is, I came to a point in my life where the God-fearing aspect has grown so much that I would much rather have God's blessing over my life in the future than my comfortability now. I think it would be much greater to have God's blessing than something that I want now. In the 2 Timothy 4 passage, verse 8 says that because Paul finished, he had a crown of righteousness, which the Lord would give him. In Hebrews 12 passage, Jesus sat down at the right hand of the throne, God, when he finished. There are rewards in being a finisher. So just imagine Jesus went through some of the troubles he went through, some of the slander, some of those horrible things, and he pulled his cross up the mountain, and just right there he gave up, and he went through the beating and that lashing of whips, but he gave up just before he got hung on the cross. We wouldn't have received eternal life, and that story wouldn't be known. Okay, so if we persevere and we write a great story for ourselves, nobody knows the person that gave up. Okay? And we need to hear it sometimes, and we need to accept it sometimes. Okay, so how we concentrate. Focusing on a task is a lot like focusing your vision. It is essentially a top-down process. When you make the decision to focus on something, your brain first takes in all the visual information and start to process that information to tell you what you should focus on. It's like looking at a painting or a photograph for the first time. So if we see something, if we hear something, if we discover something, we take that something, whatever it may be, in, and we prioritize it. We prioritize what people tell us. If it's very important and it's something that we need to act to, it would be up here. But if it's something, if it's a joke or just something that would be nice to remember one day, you prioritize it a bit lower. And that's how we can prevent fragmentation from happening. Knowing how you prioritize what you've heard, taken in, seen, or anything like that. Okay, so how we lose focus. Losing focus is actually natural and desirable. It's an evolutionary system meant to keep us safe. Breaking focus is essentially bottom down. Okay. So it happens when your brain is not noticing certain things anymore. And you can't be focused on one specific thing the whole time. You would really get a headache. And something would tell you it's time to focus on something else now. So it's people that can study for hours and hours and hours without medication or a lot of coffee or caffeine or something that helps with focusing. Normally that doesn't happen. And normally you lose focus after a certain amount of time. It varies between certain people. Normally when you study at school, you learn to study for a short period of time, and then that period increases while you get older. Okay, so we need to control where we direct our attention. So we need to choose to remain focused on that thing. If we choose to direct our focus on something else, our attention would shift to something less important. Okay, so we also learned to multitask with technology and things like that you would sit in a classroom, actually listening in the classroom while you are playing on your cell phone or sending a message, or you would be driving and sending a message at the same time. That's multitasking, doing two things which both have a little bit of importance at the same time, but you are not focused on the driving specifically anymore. You're now focusing on the driving and sending a message. And that multitasking can a lot of times be blamed when your focusing is not on what it's supposed to be. So if you sit in a conversation or you sit in a meeting and your phone rings, you would look at who's phoning and in that instant make a decision whether you're going to prioritize the person on the other side or the meeting you're currently in. So if it's someone very important and you're in just a social meeting or a social conversation, you might give the person on the phone more attention than the current conversation in front of you. Or you might be in an important meeting and just a friend or an acquaintance would phone and you know it's not that serious. You would mute the phone call and stick to the conversation. So we need to choose where we draw the line, and we draw those lines so many times every day we don't really notice it. When you're busy in working or doing your workstation and someone calls you or shouts your name, you would make a decision whether you're going to respond to them or continue with what you're doing. If that seems more important, you would give attention there and stop what you're doing. Okay, so we also go through certain emotions, especially when we're busy, when we're working hard, things would build up and we would be under pressure. And then we would act on those emotions instead of processing the emotions and then act or respond later. Okay, so that's the basic of fragmentation. We need to keep our focus on what's important, and we need to continually decide on what's important, because our situation would change, our day would evolve, and things might happen and things might become a priority which wouldn't have been an hour earlier. And we need to make our decisions on those type of things. Okay, please close your eyes. Father God,